Bulls Nation, never have I ever thought in my life I would be making a video like this today. And what I mean by that is we're going to be talking about today one of my favorite, if not my favorite, NBA player in the NBA today. And of course, many people would know who that is if you read the comment sections or if you've seen my previous videos. But again, I feel like there's a lot of traction in terms of the trades for this player, and I thought I may give my own piece on that as well. Today, we're going to be talking about Damian Lillard. That's right, from the Portland Trail Blazers. In the end, we're going to have a lot to say about this player for sure, and let's do it in this video. Let's do it. Show, and welcome back to another video. Today we've got a Chicago Bulls related video, and more importantly probably a Portland Trail Blazers related video as well, as we talk about one of the best point guards in the NBA today, and definitely a player that has taken the reins to become one of the most mesmerizing, amazing, enjoyable players to watch, and my personal favorite player to watch in the NBA, Damian Lillard. I never thought in my life I'd be making a video about this in relation to the Chicago Bulls, but here we are, because in the end, this is probably the biggest opportunity, if there ever was an opportunity to get Damian Lillard, and this could be something that could be very interesting to see for every team in the NBA, not just for the Chicago Bulls. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Aidan Sports Show YouTube channel, turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about Damian Lillard. What are your thoughts about him overall? Again, an exciting player to watch for sure, and has definitely shown a lot of progression throughout his entirety of his career in Portland, and again has done some amazing things in the NBA, and this season has been no different for Damian Lillard. And again, before I go any further, because I know there might be some Portland fans that watch this, there might be some fans that just look at this video and say you're absolutely crazy, I just want to say this. Just by me making this video does not mean I believe Damian Lillard will get traded to the Bulls, nor do I believe he will leave Portland. I'm going to say this straight up front. I don't think Damian Lillard will leave the Portland Trail Blazers. I'm going to say it as it is, because in the end, there's not a lot to show that he will lead the Portland Trail Blazers. I think many people get on the hype train just because he says a few things, but in the end, Damian Lillard has said a lot of things throughout the course of his NBA career, and yet he's always remained loyal to Portland. So I don't know if this season is going to be any different from any other season. But again, if there's a possibility for the Chicago Bulls, this is why I'm making this video, because in the end, I want to cover all possibilities, whether it's slim, whether it's likely. In the end, that's what I'm doing here. So please don't just assume that I think he's coming to the Chicago Bulls. If there's a possibility, there's nothing more in the world I would want than the Chicago Bulls to pursue Damian Lillard. But in the end, I know those possibilities are slim, but there still needs to be a possibility there if the Bulls need to see that. And that's why I'm talking about Damian Lillard today. But again, let's talk about Damian Lillard. Let's talk about my favorite player in the NBA to watch today. His stats for this season was 28.8 points per game, 4.2 rebounds per game, 7.5 assists per game, shooting 45% from the field and 39% from the three-point line. And considering the volume and the amount of shots that Damian Lillard takes, that's a very good number to have. 28.8 points per game, one of the leading scorers in the NBA, or also one of the leading facilitators in the NBA as well. And once again, with Damian Lillard, he's an all-star. He's an MVP caliber player. I think if you put him on any other team in the NBA, including the Portland Trail Blazers as well, you get a very good team there. And I think that's the type of player we're dealing with here. We're dealing with a player that can make any team an instant playoff team, and on certain teams an instant championship team. And that's the player that we're talking about here. That's how good Damian Lillard is on both sides of the floor, and definitely on the offensive side as well. Damian Lillard, I've mentioned before, and I'm going to keep repeating myself because, again, I'm just in shock that I'm even talking about this. Damian Lillard is my favorite player in the NBA to watch. Before, it was Dwayne Wade, but of course, Dwayne Wade's retired. Dwayne Wade was absolutely my favorite player by far for any team. And when Dwayne Wade joined the Chicago Bulls, even though it was a one season, even though it was a short stint, even though he didn't necessarily do great here, that was the dream come true for me, to see my favorite player join my favorite team. That's absolutely mesmerizing, and that's something that I will never forget the feeling of that day. And Damian Lillard potentially coming to the Chicago Bulls in a very slim opportunity is something that again, words can't describe how I would feel if this was ever going to happen. And again, that's why it's slim to nothing in my opinion, because I just don't think it's going to happen. But what would Damian Lillard do for the Chicago Bulls? Well, we're a player like Damian Lillard away from becoming a very, very, very good team in the NBA. I think it's as simple as that. We are a Damian Lillard type of player away. We need that star. We need that star power, that firepower, that one more player to really take us to the next step, to really take us to a top contender in the East. And by all stretch of the means, that's exactly what he would do for us. In the end, giving up a trading for Damian Lillard, we would have to give up a lot, and I truly mean a lot. We'd have to give up our young players. We would have to give up some picks. We may even have to give up Nikola Vucevic. But in the end, that is something by bias, whether it's a smart trade or not, I would absolutely do for Damian Lillard. If you gave a trade to me for a few picks, Kobe White and Nikola Vucevic for Damian Lillard, I would do that. But that's me being biased. That's me liking this player and desperately wanting him to play for my favorite team. It's as simple as that. But I know many people might not see that as a very smart or a trade that could be even done. But that is something that's the level that we're dealing with here. That's a big time player right there that we're talking about. One of the most clutchest players in the NBA. One of the most highlight worthy players in the NBA. Always in an MVP category in my eyes in the NBA. And to be fair, he's been one of the most loyal players of all time in the NBA. And we don't see loyalty in the NBA anymore. We don't usually see loyalty anymore because more often than not, teams backstab those players that are loyal. And we've seen that over the course of many teams. And I don't need to name the teams. I don't need to name the players. But the fact of the matter is, there is no more loyalty in the NBA. And as soon as Damian Lillard even thinks about leaving Portland, we're going to be saying it all over again. But in my opinion, and I'm going to state this now, whether Damian Lillard is a Portland Trailblazer going into the future, or whether he decides to go to any other team, whether that is the Bulls, the Lakers, the Bucks, any team that he wants to go for, in my eyes, Damian Lillard is still one of the most, and I truly mean this, loyal players in the NBA. He's given everything to Portland. And in return, Portland has given everything to Damian Lillard. It's a match made in heaven in many ways. And that's why I think Damian Lillard loves Portland so much. And that's why Portland love Damian Lillard so much. So in terms of do I see this happening, as I've said many times already in this video, there's a very slim chance of this happening. I see Damian Lillard potentially staying in Portland for a long time to come. That doesn't necessarily mean he'll end his career in Portland, but he's going to be there for a while, in my opinion. What I think needs to happen with Damian Lillard is I think there needs to be some trades, some big-time trades, in my opinion, for a player like him to get the help that he needs. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you start the rebuild. I think maybe that means maybe CJ McCollum isn't the best answer in terms of Dame and CJ. Maybe that isn't the best answer in the playoffs. Maybe it is. Maybe there needs to be other players around them. But they've tried that experiment before, and so far they've gotten the same results. It's either a first or second round exit most of the time for the Portland Trailblazers. There needs to be some big time trades around that team, and maybe some potential big time changes in terms of their players. Maybe Carmelo is someone that they should consider trying to trade because there's potential value there for a player that's scoring decently for the Portland Trailblazers. CJ McCollum, as I mentioned before, you have Yusuf Nurkic. Maybe he's not the right answer. Again, Portland have been trying for a long time, and they're making changes already with their head coach, and maybe that is the solution as well. But in my opinion, I just can't see Damian Lillard leaving the Portland Trailblazers. That's my personal opinion on the matter. I don't think there's a situation at this point where Damian Lillard leaves the Portland Trailblazers. I understand there are Lakers fans desperately wanting a point guard, and they've talked about even Stephen Curry in that retrospect as well. I just don't see it in terms of Damian Lillard. I just don't see him leaving Portland this year. I think maybe next year, if things change, they have a new head coach, they have a new direction to go in, a new playing style, some players coming in, some players leaving, and they have a whole new roster and they still can't make the playoffs, or they still can't do well in the playoffs, then maybe there's a conversation there. In the end, I don't know how long Damian Lillard plans to be in Portland, but in my eyes, this is not the season for Damian Lillard to leave the Portland Trailblazers. I just simply can't see it happening. But we're going to have to wait and see. And more importantly, the Chicago Bulls need to wait and see. Because in the end, this is just my opinion. Damian Lillard could come out tomorrow and say he's not interested in re-signing, or he's not interested in staying in Portland. Or maybe he comes out and says he demands a trade from Portland. And Portland, with all of the respect that they have for Damian Lillard, Portland will allow Damian Lillard to go to any team that he chooses, any team that he pleases. So in my eyes, if there is a potential trade, the Chicago Bulls need to be all over that. They need to be all over it. They need to try their very best. They need to swarm Portland, and they need to try and get the best possible deal for them. And hopefully Damian Lillard will follow suit and say he wants to play here as well. That's the possibility that we have. If Damian Lillard wants to trade out of Portland, Chicago has to be an option for him, first of all. And then the Chicago Bulls need to do absolutely everything in their power to get a player like him in. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. I know I've talked about a lot of players in terms of the point guard position. I've talked about Kemba Walker. I've talked about Kyle Lowry. I've talked about a few other players that I will be talking about, like Derrick Rose, like Mike Conley. And we'll be talking a lot about the point guard position, Lonzo Ball as well. None of them can hold a candle to Damian Lillard, in my opinion. None of them. And he might not be the best fit. He's not that defensive point guard. He's not that. Well, he's a facilitator. You could tell by how much he has the ball in his hands, and he's averaging nearly 8 assists per game. But again, he might not be the absolute perfect fit, but he's the best player out of them all. And in my opinion, when you have a talent like Damian Lillard that potentially wants a trade, the Chicago Bulls has to be all over that. They need to try their very best and go all out. And we might fall flat on our heads. We might be failures in getting Damian Lillard. Maybe he doesn't want to trade at all. Maybe he wants to go to the Lakers. And if that's the case, then that's the case. And we have to accept that we're not a suitable team for him. But if there's a trade potentially there, the Chicago Bulls need to be all over that. That's my opinion personally. But don't give your... in my opinion, I would completely forget about Damian Lillard to come into the Chicago Bulls. That's how confident I am that I don't think he's going to come here. I would say completely forget about it. But again, it's the NBA. I didn't expect Nikola Vucevic to come to this team. I thought no chance in hell he was going to come to this team. And yet again, he's on this team now. And he's one of the only players that I never really thought that we would get because he doesn't fit the needs. I always thought about Andre Drummond. I always thought about these types of centers that are 7-foot rebounding, defensive-minded centers. I never thought about Nikola Vucevic as an option, but here he is. The Chicago Bulls have surprised me before. They're going to have to surprise me again because I just can't see this being a viable option. But we're going to have to wait and see. And again, as a Chicago Bulls YouTuber, I have to report or I have to talk about every possible avenue there is. And there's a lot of rumors about Damian Lillard. There's a lot of rumors about Kemba Walker. There's a lot of rumors about all these things in terms of the NBA trade market, the trade period. And it wouldn't be right of me to just completely neglect Damian Lillard. Because if he does come, I look like an idiot because I never talked about him. That's basically it as well. So thank you guys for watching this video. Please like and subscribe if you're new. Let me know in the comments below what you think about Damian Lillard. In the end, I think most people understand where I'm coming from. I don't think he's going to be a Chicago Bull. And I think that ship probably sailed since the NBA draft a long time ago for Damian Lillard. I just don't see it happening. But again, my mind's been blown before. My mind could be blown again. We're going to have to wait and see what happens with Damian Lillard. And again, he's my favorite player to watch. And I'll be very happy no matter what he decides to do. If he decides to stay with Portland, I'm extremely happy if he stays with Portland. Again, I love players that are loyal to their teams. Damian Lillard fits that category. If he wants to go to a championship contending team, or if he wants to go to any team that could potentially be from a playoff team to a championship team, maybe a team like, I don't know, Miami or something. I'm just throwing teams out there now. I'd be very happy for him. That's just how I feel in terms of the situation. And we're going to have to wait and see how that goes. Have a wonderful and safe day, Bulls Nation. Continue to dream. Let's see if dreams come true. Take care.